Hello, students. Welcome to today's lecture on the topic of simultaneous interpretation of legal procedures and courtroom cases. In this lecture, we will explore the unique challenges and techniques involved in providing simultaneous interpretation in legal settings. And also, we will interpret a video on a trial process together, analyzing its vocabulary, its form, and everything that matters to you and what you should know before starting interpreting videos on legal topics. So let's begin. Before we delve into the specifics, let's emphasize the crucial role of simultaneous interpretation in legal settings. It is an increasingly globalized world, and multilingualism is prevalent here. And in this globalized world, the cases where the legal procedures will involve citizens from different parts of the world or citizens that speak different languages is very common, and hence the interpreter's role here is very crucial and relevant. So the job positions and openings for interpreters in legal procedures are increasing. However, this field is more complex in terms of the formality, policies, and the vocabulary. Legal proceedings are characterized by complex terminology and jargon. As interpreters, it is vital to have a comprehensive understanding of legal concepts and specialized vocabulary in both of the source and target language. So, thorough preparation, continuous language engagement, and subject matter knowledge are crucial for accurate interpretation. And so in legal settings, the most usually commonly used mode of interpretation is simultaneous. However, it is also possible that interpreter will be asked to provide whisper interpretation, which is Shrushodash, which means that interpreter will be sitting next to one of the persons who is attending the legal procedure and will be whispering the interpretation to their ears. Consecutive interpretation can be also practiced, but it is less common. So in today's lecture, we will be practicing simultaneous interpretation, which can be also applied to whisper interpretation, since both of them are conducted in real time. And note-taking plays a crucial role in legal procedures. Although it is not recommended for simultaneous interpreter to take notes, in legal procedures, it is very important to make sure you deliver the content very straightforward. So let's say, for example, legal procedures, they have a lot of concrete nouns, proper nouns, numbers, dates, and locations. So these types of vocabulary should be delivered with no hesitation. Hence, the practice of note-taking is common in legal procedures. So interpreters do usually have a paper where they can quickly write down the number that they heard or the name so that they will not confuse it. Because if the confusion will come, it will affect the way the legal procedure is done. So the responsibility for the interpreters in these kind of situations is very high. Hence, the knowledge, the requirements, the competencies for interpreters are very demanding. But don't be scared. The more practice you do, the better you become. So hence this module, this lecture, is for you to learn about the legal procedures interpretation and how do they usually go. So in this video, we are going to analyze a recording of mock trial and analyze its vocabulary together. So let me share you my screen. Per usual, we're using OBS Studio for this, and I'll be having both of the video and the text on the screen. All right, let's start. So this is mock trial, which means this is not a recording of an actual case. However, this video is used for students, used for students or people who are going through professional development.
Thank you, counsel, for your assistance. I'm going to take a break of a few moments to consider the evidence as well as your closing arguments, and I will return in a few moments' time and render a verdict.
All rise, please. Court is recessed.
Okay, let's analyze this part. The judge was speaking in this video mainly, and the main things that I want you to point out. Let's start from the beginning. Thank you, counsel, for your assistance. Kengeshchi көмегіңіз үшін рахмет. Kengeshchi and counsel, you got to remember the roles, all of the people's roles and their accurate equivalent translation in the target language. So please, you will be provided with vocabulary as well, and this deck of flashcards will include those terms and proper names. So you will make sure that you learn them. So we encounter them here. Counsel, Kengeshchi. I'm going to take a break for a few minutes. This is pretty straightforward, and then it starts why she's going to take a break. So remember, as I told you that predicting can be employed in interpretation. So legal procedures are a good example of how we can employ predicting, since the legal procedures, they have a specific they have a plan to which they should align their actions. So legal procedures are very formal, and there is step-by-step actions that are taken, or that the words that are said in this type of events. So as you can see, if we would have to interpret a lot of videos of legal procedures or courtroom cases, we will already know that the judge is going to take a break to take into considerations the evidence. So this is one of the steps and actions that is common in these situations, and we probably will be able to, the more we practice and the more videos we interpret, the more court cases we appear in, we know what is next. So predicting or anticipation is one of the main techniques that is used in legal procedures interpretation. Let's go next. Dalildir, evidence, vocabulary that is commonly used. And I will return in a few moments to render a verdict. This is also an equivalent. Another phrases that are used in all of these courtroom cases is all rise please, court is recessed. Order in the court, all rise. All rise, we should be interpreting it as orunlarınızdan тұрыңыздар. It should be polite, but in this case we omit the word please, because orunlarınızdan тұрыңыздар in Kazakh is already a polite version of saying all rise. In order for us not to add more words, this is the way we translate it. And then court is recessed, sot кеңесу бөлмесіне кетеді. Кеңесу бөлмесіне кетеді. Well, this is pretty long. However, this is how we say it in Kazakh language if the court is recessed, and this is how we would be interpreting it. Okay, let's continue.
Order in the court, all rise. Court is now reconvened. Please be seated.
Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for your patience, and I would like to commend counsel for the very able jobs that you did. At this point, I would ordinarily give a detailed review and assessment of all the evidence. However, given the nature of this exercise, I am...
Okay, what I would like to suggest to you, if you are interpreting legal procedures for the first time and you are not ready for the pace and the vocabulary due to complexity of the sentences and vocabulary, you can always adjust the playback speed. So as you can see, I was trying to read to you the translation because I didn't think of it, but still, It might be, if you encounter this kind of situation when you practice, it would be good to have it on the slow mode and then see. So what she said is that I'd like to thank you for all your patience and I'd like to commend counsel. Кеңесшіге мақтау айтқым келеді. For very all able jobs you did. Сіз жасаған жұмысыңызға рахмет. So this is not word for word translation, but this is an equivalent for all very able jobs that you did. Жасаған жұмысыңызға рахмет. So let's see if we add thank you in target language, if we add rahmet in our translated sentence in the beginning, the sentence will be broken down into 3 simple sentences, which adds more to the thinking and to the interpretation. So we will remember the phrase thank you and then add it to the end. Or we can also say alғыс айтқым келеді. So we can remove it or keep it here. It depends on you, but if one of the strategies would be adding thank you to the end. Assessment of the evidence. Барлық дәлелдерге бағалау беретін едім. I'm going to be very brief. Мен өз сөзімді қысқартамын. Okay, let's continue.
I'm going to be very brief. Mr. Donovan Tissey has been charged with robbery and assault causing bodily harm.
Donovan Tissey is the main defendant in this court case, and you will be provided with the names of people attending the court case, and then you will be introduced to them. So don't worry about remembering all of these names. This is one of the steps of preparation for the interpretation.
In particular, it is alleged that on the evening of March 10th, 2010...
All right, the dates. The dates occur a lot in court cases. March 10th, 2010. So you will have the date as well. You will be provided with all the details that has been used as an evidence to charge the defendant. And I mean, you will be provided what is the case about, so you will know what happened, but you will not know what are the witnesses' evidences are, right? So this is the brief introduction on what happened in this case. So let's start. Robbery and assault would be тонау және дене жарақатын келтіру, which is bodily harm, right? And then another person appears.
Mr. Tissey and another individual brutally attacked Mr. Enver Williams and stole his running shoes. So
judge is reminding or clarifying what actually happened, and then since this is the judge's feedback and decision, the video on this procedure, it will consist of this kind of information. So the judge takes a break, go to consider the evidence and all the arguments, and then she will come back or he will come back and then give a brief overview of the case, and then give feedback on witnesses' evidences and also attorney's speech, and based on that information she will explain what happened, what is the verdict.
In order for Mr. Tissey to be found guilty of these offenses, the Crown must establish the essential elements of each of these 2 offenses beyond a reasonable doubt. I have no doubt that Mr. Williams was indeed assaulted and robbed.
Okay, I have no doubt I have no doubt. Sentences which start with that, we usually put them to the end of the sentence according to the grammar rules and syntax rules of Kazakh language. So, Komanamzhok will be in the end of the sentence, as you can see here in this script.
The evening of March 10th. The sole issue in this case is whether it was Mr. Tissi who was one of the two individuals who was responsible.
Бұл жағдайда жалғыз мәселе Тисси мырза жауапты болған екі адамның бірі ма?
I do not question Mr. Williams' credibility.
Мен Уильямс мырзаның сенімділігіне күмән келтірмеймін.
However, there are inherent frailties to eyewitness identification, notwithstanding that the identification is honestly made. There is an unfortunate record in this country of cases in which individuals have been wrongfully convicted on the basis of eyewitness testimony. The court therefore must be very cautious in relying on this testimony alone as a basis for a finding of guilt. I also found Mr. Wong to be a credible witness. I accept his testimony that he indeed did see Mr. Williams on the evening of March 10th at some point before 8 p.m. It is possible that Mr. Tissi would have both been in the alleyway the evening of March 10th and counted.
So this script is given for you to practice on your own pace and in a own way that suits for you better. And now what I want to cover as well is that professional ethics are fundamental for interpreters in legal settings. Confidentiality, impartiality, and maintaining the highest ethical standards are essential. And interpreters must also respect attorney and client privilege, protect sensitive information, and ensure that all parties are treated fairly and equitably. So you will be asked to sign a lot of documents in accordance with that. However, since the court cases are involve debates on whether the person is guilty or not, it can be very emotional. So what to do in these situations? Now we will cover the case where interpreter is in a very uncomfortable position and how to report on that. So let's look at the video and then discuss about it as well.
Never sold any of the rocks of cocaine in his possession to anyone. And the reason is stated for handing the rock cocaine back to the co-accused was merely that he was holding it for the co-accused, and at that point, the co-accused wanted it back.
Mens rea has been established.
Besides which, my client has stated at all times...
Does the defense dispute the evidence of the police witnesses as to the manner in which the drugs were held?
To hold any object in your mouth unless there is the attempt to conceal said
Your Honor,
objects.
the interpreter requests repetition. The interpreter has only interpreted as far as Your Honor's words does the defense dispute. The interpreter requests that Your Honor repeat what followed.
See, this is one of the main ethical considerations during interpretation. When you are interpreting the speech, you want to make sure that one person is talking, they are following the pace, and you covered everything. So in case if that happens when the speeches overlap and people are being emotional and fast talking, you want to say that to the judge. So you want to address it like starting with Your Honor and then identify yourself in a third party. So you say interpreter requests a repetition. And this is completely okay for you to do that. It is better that you point it out to the judge and request some repetition or speaking slow or anything else, because your interpretation will affect and be influential on the court procedure. So in this situation is when the attorneys are speaking emotionally together, the judge should have stopped them, but he didn't. So interpreters are fully allowed to request repetition and point out that the people should not speak together. So this is what kind of actions you should implement when you're facing these kind of situation. Apart from that, you will be provided with more detailed information on professional ethics in legal procedures for interpreters, and you will analyze the documents that were adopted in some of the states in America And you should know that developing and enhancing interpretation skill is an ongoing process. Practicing in legal mock scenarios, attending courtroom observations, and practicing in workshops or specialized training programs can help sharpen your interpreting skills and build subject matter expertise. And you should be also staying updated with the legal procedures. So usually the way it works is that interpreters are required to attend or have the professional development in the field of legal cases and courtroom procedures. And it is very crucial to be an expert in this subject before starting the career. In conclusion, a simultaneous interpretation of legal procedures and courtroom cases is a challenging but vital task. Interpreters serve as linguistic bridges, ensuring effective communication between parties, but it is important to stay impartial. So you are not allowed to judge a person who was found guilty or not. So you're not allowed to say your thoughts on that, to express your subjective opinion. Apart from that, you are not allowed to do compressing of information. So all of the strategies that we used before, the transformations, they are not that practiced in legal procedures. Hence why I'm saying that it is very different, and it is located as one of the last modules for the Art of Real-Time Translation course. So the theory behind legal procedures is different, but still it requires the same cognitive load, the same skills for vocabulary and being fast, thinking fast. Apart from that, it is important to be able to predict in interpretation. However, you're not allowed to use your predictions. It is just for you to think ahead and be prepared. And apart from that, it is still an interpretation. And if you master the interpretation of other fields, such as international conferences or business meeting, governmental meetings, you will be more likely to move on to the legal procedures interpretation. If you are interested in the field of court cases or legal work, I would suggest you start being interpreter in that field. So you will touch upon the subject as well as delivering a seamless interpretation. By mastering legal terminology and employing appropriate coping strategies and adhering to professional ethics, interpreters play a crucial role in upholding justice. That is what is the most important. We may be invisible during interpretation, but also you want to know that you are the one who is upholding justice. Thank you for joining this lecture. Now I'll be happy to address all of your questions or concerns that you have. Please feel free to email me with all of those, and I will see you later.